Joining me now from his home in Denver, Colorado, Patrick Devenny. Patrick, thank you so much for coming on and sharing this with us, opening up. It is rare that you see men talk about eating disorders, especially athletes. I'm curious, going back to when you walked in that locker room, because I always think when a guy says, oh man, he's ripped, you're complimenting the other guy. And it never occurred to me the pressure behind saying those very words. You're ripped, you look good, but you were feeling that in the locker room.
First and foremost, Tamron, thank you so much for having me on today. Yeah, walking into that locker room and you're in this moment of you've lived your entire life trying to reach this dream. And then every ounce of that journey, you are always being judged and always being
Mm,
compared and always need to look like that gladiator. And it's never enough. You're
mm.
never big enough. You're never strong enough. You're never fast enough. Because there's always someone else competing to take your job.
Yeah.
So it instantly starts to just build to a point where it's either make it or break it.
It's interesting you use the word build because early on, that was the pressure to build, to bulk up. You were a tight end. As I understand, you even thought about enhancement drugs, but you couldn't afford that. So you just decided to focus in on the obsession of bulking up through, I guess, what, protein drinks and things like that?
I did every diet possible.
Mm,
Any and every ounce of advantage that I could get, I would have taken. And I always do say that when you have millions of dollars on the line, livelihood, guys in the league have families and kids are trying to support. And for me, it always came down to just trying to. My dream was to give my mom the house and the
wow.
car. And if you have the ability to get that advantage, if you shave off 20 pounds or get a second faster, you're
Yeah.
talking millions, multi millions of dollars. So you would do anything and everything you could. But in my case, it did. It came down to a lot of diets,
Right.
strict regiments, going above and beyond. I would leave the locker room with all my buddies, act like I was done for the day, and go back in later on and try to do more reps in the
Right.
weight room
Well,
and do anything I could.
help me understand how the bulking up then turned though to binging. I know that you'd gotten to a point where you were no longer in the NFL, so a part of your self-esteem, as you've talked about, went with that. And then there was this episode at a friend's house where you went there and you found yourself in this extreme binging situation.
Yeah, I think football is funny because you're always in that mode of needing to bulk up, and I needed that weight. But as soon as I was done, I was 265 pounds. My body hurt. It wasn't a natural weight for me. You need to do everything you could to try to maintain that weight. But then instantly, I knew I wanted to become on the cover of that Men's Health magazine, just like Lenny Kravitz. You're ripped, you're shredded, beach body season, trying to impress the girls. And I instantly went into a mode where I wanted to drop as much weight as possible. And that ultimately led to this fear around food. And if I ate too much, trying to compensate for that in the weight room, and my life became a scientific equation with counting calories. And that's what led to the incident that finally broke me at my best friend's house, where I just couldn't control because I was under eating so much and unfortunately ate all of his kids' food. And he woke me up the next morning and I just couldn't even control it in the moment. And it felt like an out of body experience that was the best thing that happened to me because I ultimately hit rock bottom in that moment and
Mhm.
realized there was something going on here that I just couldn't control.
Patrick's wife, Stephanie, joins us on the conversation now as well. Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us. What did you think? How did you process that?
Yes, thank you for having me on the show too. I hadn't, I was, it was kind of foreign to me. I didn't really realize men struggled with it, kind of how you started the show. But I actually found it really attractive just that Patrick was being vulnerable from the beginning because I think men in general always have a struggle. And when they lay it out there, it allows their partner to love them in those moments and to just be real and raw. So it didn't freak me out because I knew he was taking steps to heal. And I wasn't going to have to force a healing process, which I thought was really important. And he was so cool and honest about it. I knew he could make a difference on me and to a lot of people.
Well, I know you are married now. You've been here with this journey. I'm sure you're just so proud to see that he's not only healed himself, but he's trying to speak up to help other people.
Yes, totally. And I think especially now with this whole pandemic, it's a lot of people are struggling with their mental health and everybody is turning to advice. And I think Patrick's voice just allows people to just be
Yeah.
themselves and say,
Yeah.
hey, you know what? Not everything is perfect
Yeah.
and you can still heal and have a beautiful life and not be perfect all the time.